You got Billson here, Tri-City Sports. Now, you heard Matt Polly's sports update, and just a couple quick notes on it. First of all, if the Braves sweep the Phillies this series, don't you think that the race is over? I mean, we're at the halfway point in the season. I know, it'll be, 3 games into the second half or whatever it is, 4 or whatever it is. But it would be an 8.5 game lead, and I mean, yeah, do you really see no catch? That team in Philly just seems to be falling apart. There was talk that when the Mets beat the Braves on Sunday, that it was, did it save Mickey Callaway's job? I don't think it did. I don't think it did in a long shot, because I can tell you at least twice of times that I know where the Braves fired their managers after a victory. Now, it's been a long time, but it's been Russ Nixon and Chuck Tanner, don't get me wrong. But, it does happen. So if it's in the mix to fire the manager, one ball game, I don't really think means a heck of a lot. And Mickey Callaway is just really, now there's the idea that since the general manager is calling the shots with the New York Mets, then the manager is a puppet. Of course, you listen to Colin Kaepernick, Colin Cowherd, he thinks that anyway. But I disagree. I still believe the manager is very important, because I think baseball is such a strategic game, unless it's DH, and never mind. But even that statement that I just made right there, obviously, even with the DH, you've got a lot of strategy in it, so just not quite as much. There was a big day. Josh Bell hitting 3 home runs yesterday. That was big, getting named All-Star Game DH. And I got a lot of baseball news to talk about here before we get to all for Tennessee's Caleb Calhoun for Asian House Vol Talk with Caleb Calhoun. That'll come up at the bottom of the hour. But I wanted to mention that about the Braves. Of course, then again, the Phillies sweep the Braves, and they're right back in it. One other thing, you heard that the Bristol Pirates defeated the Kingsport Mets. Boy, you want to talk about two teams. One had a real good first week of the Appalachian League season. The other had a real bad one. Kingsport being the one that had a good first week, Bristol being one that had a bad. You want to talk about reversal of fortunes in the second week. Absolutely. I mean, it looked like the Bristol Pirates were they couldn't even, seat their fans at the ballpark properly, but regardless there. I want to get onto this, of course, at 2 o'clock it's going to be the Women's World Cup between the United States and England. And I mentioned with the Marky's monologue with, the Nike pulling the shoes because Colin Kaepernick told them to. The 4th of July shoes that had the old Betsy Ross American flag, the one with the circle. Instead of the 50 stars, they had 13 in a circle, original colonies. If you were around, and I was 5 years old at the time, but if you were around in 1976, that flag was ubiquitous during the bicentennial. That was, it was everywhere. I guess we're only, is it in 2026? They're going to put out a new coin for that, change the quarters and $50 and all that. So we'll see. But looking at that, the thing about the Women's World Cup that comes up in about 90 minutes, has it gotten to the point now where I think that it will become in vogue for half the country to root for England in this game? And by that, I don't mean the UK, I don't mean Great Britain, I don't mean England or whatever you want to go. I mean United States. Because Megan Rapinoe has become that much of a polarizing figure. And she'll have tremendous amounts of fans. Don't get me wrong. You will have a strong showing as well for the USWNT. But it's just gotten to be, I think, where we really are not sure that we like this person. At least around here. Greenwich Village might be different. course, Rapinoe said, I'm not going to the White House. Okay, she's not the first athlete to do that, and certainly not the first to Donald Trump. And she's right, this is America, and, you know, where we may not agree with what you say, but we supposedly defend to the death your right to say it. So, yes, that's the, Rapinoe, that's what you do right there, okay? She's an American, she has every right, to say, I don't like the policies of the president. Sure, we get it. But all too keen to accept Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's invitation to visit the House of Representatives. All right, now that becomes, around here, kind of tough to really like Rapinoe. Or in a more, it is so totally polarizing. And again, American, hey, politics and swing to the left. That's your right here. Nobody's saying you're, can't do that or you're wrong. I guess the other side of the political coin says you're wrong, but you get the idea. You're allowed, is my point. I get it. But you're also telling about half the country there, wait a minute, I'm creating a divide. And it becomes harder and harder for people on one side of the political coin to root, therefore, for Rapinoe. I was mentioning symbols and such. NASCAR said we've got to get rid of the Confederate flag in the infield and such. I was at the Food City 500 this year. Wasn't one. If I went back a generation, you'd see pickup trucks riding around with it. I'm not coming down, all that sort of stuff, okay? But the idea was, wait a minute, this is too polarizing. And even to those that feel it's a heritage symbol, no, we can't approve that. Again, here we are, left-right divide. It becomes very difficult, they thought, to have an inclusive environment, and one in which, everyone would be welcome to attend a NASCAR race if you had a rebel flag. What is it when you are saying, I won't go visit Donald Trump, I will visit AOC? That's the question here. I would also point out, and again, it's her right to do so, but it just becomes so much out the celebrating, the in-your-face. Maybe that's not what we like. Hey, then again, I could see where a lot of people, they've waited. If you are a lesbian, maybe you've waited for a sports star that's unabashedly proud. I do get that too. What I don't quite get is when I go to the Players Tribune and Sue Bird, the WNBA player for Seattle, who is Megan Rapinoe's significant other, girlfriend, and she does a 15-page piece, and I'm going to hold this up. I cannot say on the air the title of the piece. So the president effing hates my girlfriend. So, obviously we can't say the word right there. I think you get it. I'll touch back on this a little bit. Again, for something that's supposed to unite, like the American women's soccer team, this is awfully dividing. Awfully dividing. Okay, if you are dividing, if you are saying, you know what, I want to hear Rapinoe just shut up. Lucy Bronze is the player to watch on England, and this is probably the best chance for the Americans to lose here on out. She's the player that could be shadowing Rapinoe, who's had a tremendous World Cup. That game begins at 2. That's what you need to know. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. It'll be Asian House Vols Talk with Caleb Calhoun.